Split testing or A/B testing is still one of the best ways that we can optimize our Google search campaigns in 2025 to get more clicks and ultimately more conversions. So we know that there's now two ways that we can potentially do this. That's right. There's now two ways that we can now split test. And the reason for this, Google's released more data. They've given us more insight at the asset level. So we now know that we can find out what headlines and descriptions are working based upon, we now know what clicks, impressions, click-through rate, conversion rate, cost per conversion. We now have a lot more data, so we can make a better decision, whereas previously we didn't have this information. Now, unfortunately, at the time of recording this, not all accounts have this available. If you don't, then you'll have to go back to the original way of split testing. And the original way, let's run through that now before I screen share and explain both options, is we have an ad running, we duplicate the original ad, and then from there we're changing one headline or a description. We can add a dynamic keyword insertion, or we can change the description. But the key to split testing is to only change one thing. And the reason is we need to know what's working and what isn't. And if you're changing multiple headlines and multiple descriptions, how do you know from the split test what's working and what isn't? So the idea is for split testing is to have a controlled environment. We're changing one thing from a headline to description, and then from there we can make a better informed decision based upon that split test. And then the other thing that I'm looking to do is optimize ad rotation. So what I'm saying to Google is I want to optimize the best performing ad. The only caveat to this is that Google will optimize the ad rotation based upon click-through rate, so TTR, which isn't always the best metric. So sometimes what we'll see is Google will base it on click-through rate because they want more money in their pocket. But sometimes you'll see a bit of a skewy performance. But the majority of the time, we want the ad rotation to be rotated because we want the best performing ad to be shown more often than not. And the reason I don't go back to the second way of 50-50 is why would you want to split the budget if both ads are not performing as well? At least with the second option, it's a little bit skewy, but it's still the best of the best. So they're my recommendations. What I want to do now is jump into a screen share and let's actually look at some Google Ads and how we can actually look at the data coming through. So let's jump into a screen share and then we can look at the two different ways that we can split test our ads. So jumping into the screen, we can see we've got the original way of running a split test. So we've got two ads running. Now what I did with this, I had the original ad, I duplicated the original, and then we created a second split test. And the key to this is to only change one headline or one description. Why are we only changing one thing? Whenever you're running a split test, think, why are you running that split test? We want to find out what is the one thing that can trigger to make an ad better or improve performance. If we're changing 3, 4, 5 headlines, 2 or 3 of the descriptions, then how do we know what is actually converting based on the data? Remember, Google is very much data orientated. We need to understand the data coming back at us. So if we're changing one thing, changing one headline and one description, then we know what's working. And that's why we're running a split test. So whether that be dynamic keyword insertion, pinning, whatever you're doing, just change one thing. And that's the way that we create a 2 ads, 1 ad group split test within Google Ads. And that's something that I do all the time. Now, let's jump into a second campaign. So we've got one ad running, one ad group, one ad running. And if you click on view assets here, so when we click into the view assets at the bottom, from here it'll take us to another screen. Now, if you can't do this or you don't have this option, then you have to just duplicate the 2 ads and run the original way I said. So what will happen, we'll come to a screen. And then from here we can add asset type, headlines or descriptions, and then from here we can see the data that's coming through from Google. So what I'm looking at for the data is, because we're seeing clicks, impressions, conversion rates, conversion value, click-through rate, we're seeing all the data that we need to see. That's why we can now, rather than having just good, bad, low, good, bad, good, okay, or average or low, now we're getting a lot more data from Google. And from there, we can make a better decision. So what I'm looking now is, are the ads that I've got running, are they working? Are the headlines working? So again, we'll filter this out by headlines and description. So we're on the headlines now. So what I'm looking for is, are we spending money? Are we getting clicks? But ultimately, are we getting conversions? And if we are, then I'll leave the headline alone. If I'm starting to see things like most of these are working, if I'm seeing impressions, we're getting clicks, we're spending money, but we're not getting any metrics, any conversions coming through, then potentially what I can do is pause that and then create a new headline based off of that. Now, when we're creating a headline, don't just do something similar, try something completely different. Remember, we've got up to 15 different places 15 different variations of headlines that we can add in. So we want to be trying different variations. So when I'm doing headlines, what I'm looking for is dynamic keyword insertion, call to action, emotional trigger, offer, and then we can try different variations of those. So they're the main core things that I'm looking for my headlines, and then we can obviously add those into descriptions. So dynamic keyword insertion and dynamic keyword insertion for location as well is something that we can add into our Google Ads as well. So that's what I'm looking at. Are we spending money? Are we getting no conversions, or are we spending money and not really seeing the metrics coming through? So we're wasting money. So they're the type of metrics that I'm looking at, and they're the ones that I'm really focusing on when I'm doing my responsive search ad. So if you want me to audit your account, I would happily do that. Just fill in the form below. Or if you're looking for somebody to run your Google Ads, again, that's something that we do on a regular basis with a number of different companies and brands. So again, fill out the form below and let's jump onto a 30-minute no obligation chat, and then we can also look at your Google Ads and see how we can improve them for you.